Let's call Bill the Buds instructor here and shoot the shit with him. He's going to explain a few things about SDVs to you guys. And me and Bill were in my first platoon together. We made first class petty officer together. We made chief together. And then Bill, the next day, the day after he put on his chief's uniform, the next day, he went to officer candidate school and became an officer. So he's a badass. And we'll ask him about his shipwreck experience tonight. We had a ship in the Philippines that had, the story was it held American prisoners of war during World War II, and the Japanese sunk it in Subic Bay. And we all used to dive on that ship, would go down, and I was just interested in seafood. We called it groceries, so I'd be pulling scallops off of that thing and all kinds of stuff. But a lot of guys would really get in and dive after dive after dive. They would work on a certain piece of brass or the ship's helm, really get into the bowels of this ship. And Bill had a real bad incident on board that thing. He's very lucky to be here. And we finally did have a SEAL that was killed on board that ship. And they told us to stop diving on it. You know, it was too dangerous. So we'll hear Bill, the Buds instructor, tell us about officers, SDVs, and I'll get him to tell that story about the shipwreck incident. Here we go. I always love having Bill on here. He's an easy day.
Hello.
What's going on, badass?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Oh, we're kicking. I got a good bunch of guys on here. I already pumped them up. A bit about SDVs and officers, and I already told them that you hated being a chief so much that you went on and became an officer out of that old mess.
I was only a chief for a couple weeks, so I really wasn't much of a chief.
Yeah, I remember that. We had a good frocking thing. I don't know if I told you that I interviewed a World War II frogman, landed on Iwo Jima. Did I tell you that?
No, you did not.
No. Oh, what a badass. In Frogman on Iwo Jima, a couple other anti-Weetalk, some strange stuff, but horribly wounded at Iwo Jima. And I remember Rube, when Rube frocked us, put our anchors on us.
Poor Rube.
Yeah.
Actual hero.
Yeah, me and Bill used to take a bottle of Jack Daniels down there to Rube and just sit there and drink and let him talk. We wouldn't talk for hours while he just ran his pipe.
Yep.
Just a really decorated. He was an E5, flew his own torpedo plane, got the Navy Cross for sinking a Japanese carrier, and boy, he looked sharp when he came and put that old Navy uniform on as a chief and put our anchors on. What a badass.
My hero.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I'm sorry to have heard that. No, Bill is one of the guys is asking. No, Bill's retired. He's doing his own thing now, but spent a lot of time out there at Bud's. And you haven't been retired long at all. When did you retire?
05.
Yeah, so still current and still doing it out there to a lot of extent. What's up with SDVs?
Well, we're my company's still working with team guys too. I mean, I was just at JSOC. I was just at SOCOM, so I still do the deed.
Oh, I know it, bro.
So SDVs. That's the question.
Yeah, let's say a guy gets out of Buds or is assigned to an SDV team, or like you'd been a SEAL for a long time before you went. What's a guy expect when he gets assigned out of Buds or something?
They you probably know, but they closed the SDV team on the East Coast, and they moved those billets over to Hawaii. And so if you go to an SDV team, you're going to go to Pearl City in Hawaii, which is pretty deluxe. It's good training for officers. It's a better deal for enlisted because it's only 2.5, 3 years for an officer. For an enlisted guy, it could be your whole career. There's some guys go to SDVs, and they go to SDV school after SDVs, and then they go to Buds and be an SDV instructor, and then they come back to SDVs. There's guys who never get out of the SDV pipeline because they like it so much. But most guys do their tour there and hit the road, go to a regular SEAL team.
So what's a new guy get when he gets there? What's a guy get out of buds? Now he's going right from there to SDV school before he goes to Hawaii.
The best thing you get out of SDV school is it's almost everyone in I started the task units there, so I had the SNR, the snipers. So all 8 of my guys were snipers. They all went to sniper school. They all went to EMT school. They were all free fall. They were all, they had all the coolest schools you could get. They got because of the missions that we had to do.
Now SNR is what?
Surveillance and reconnaissance.
Mm-hmm. So you started that over there. Before they were doing that, they were just basically, working the SDVs. Now you.
Oh, when I got there, they were doing everything. The same guy who set up the shelter, which is a multi-million-dollar, 80,000-pound thing that sticks on the side of a sub. The same guy who did that, he fixed the submarine. He drove the the SDV, and then he also went on the mission over the beach. And I'm like, that's a 50-hour day right there. That's too much shit. So we put they put a CLO in charge of a bunch of divers manning the shelter, because that just gets you out into the water. And then there was the SEALs that ran the boat. They drove the boat. They maintained the boat, the SDV itself. And then I'd jam in the back with 3 other dudes, and then we'd hit the beach. So we didn't worry about the shelter. We didn't worry about how much batteries were in the SDVs or any of that shit. We just worried about our sniper rifles and our comms and our lasers and stuff.
Cool. So now how long is SDV school? What are those guys doing down there?
It used to be in San Diego, now it's in Panama City. It's 3 or 4 months. AOT, they call it AOT, Advanced Operator Training. And you get pretty damn good at putting that boat wherever you want.
Now, when they get out of, that's just a hell of a lot of diving down there, and they have plenty of the open water dives, and then they're transferred out to a team now in Hawaii.
Correct. They'll go to Pearl City. We have SDV Team 2 or SDV Team 1 in Hawaii, and that's where the ASDS is as well, right next door. And they do all the underwater mobility for NSW out there.
Now that what you just mentioned, that's the shelter.
No, the ASDS was that submarine.
Yeah.
It was a real submarine. You stayed dry in it, but they've had problems with that. They've got a bunch of SDVs that they've been using for the last 20, 30 years.
Cool. So how does a typical op work for the guys? Something you would set up, a typical training operation or operation. How would something like that go?
When you're doing SDV ops, that's the good thing about SDVs. It's all Tier 1. You're a national asset, so you're not doing bullshit ops. There's real stuff going on, whether there's a war or not, that SEALs are doing out of those SDVs. So you got that pride. And the thing I didn't know about it is you could spend 2 hours packing your rucksack. You're on a sub, because we have, at the time, we had $1,200 waterproof bags. But if your radio or anything you have that you're putting in there punches a hole in your bag while it's under pressure, then your shit leaks and your mission's a failure, and you just can't have that. So the packing of the bag is it's about a 50 times more long process than as a regular SEAL.
All that waterproofing and everything else that goes on it.
Yeah, and just protecting the very expensive, the stuff with lithium batteries that can't get wet stuff that's in there. It's critical, obviously, because if it starts leaking, it's in the sub, it'll mess up the sub, it'll give you away on the op, because when you pop the surface, you can smell a burning lithium battery for about 5 miles. So, yeah, and then your gear doesn't work, because it basically explodes inside of your bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
Were you in that platoon where they tested out that new torpedo? Did you lock out with us? We put all our gear in the torpedo.
I did not do that one.
One of those platoons, somebody invented a torpedo. We were doing the sub ops, and we would put all our gear in the torpedo, secured. It was a specially made torpedo, and then when we locked out of the sub and were on the surface, it would fire this torpedo, and it would not go very far, and it would pop up to the surface. And we tested it, and we opened it up to get all our gear out of it, and what we had packed in had been compressed into, it looked like a trash compactor had got a hold of that stuff and just destroyed everything we had, crushed everything in it. And
you know why that is?
yeah.
Because those tubes, when they fire a torpedo, they go from 0 to 2,000 psi in about 1 second. So thankfully, I've never done a torpedo tube lockout. Have you ever done one?
No.
I've had friends do them in Germany.
Yeah, they're bad.
They tell me that one guy shinnies in backwards into the tube, and he drags his dragger in front of him, and the other guy pushes in forward into the tube, has his dragger in front of him, and then they shut the damn torpedo door, and they try to feather the air going in there as slow as they can. But when you go from 0 to the bottom in like a millionth of a second, no matter how slow they try to make it. But if anything goes wrong, of course, it's going to be a real bad day for you and your buddy wedging a torpedo tube.
Yeah, if you guys, now just locking out of a submarine itself is a test of claustrophobia. You're just so tight in there. The guys that are in it, the sub trunk is very small. You have a Zodiac boat in there with you, or engine, or just some crazy stuff all pressed in. Your faces are all smeared up against valves, and they start letting water into this thing to equalize it. And I tell you, it'll get the best of you if you're not careful. A true test of claustrophobia. But there is nothing worse than being locked in from a submarine torpedo tube. Now that is a test of claustrophobia, because when they shut those doors, buddy, it is game on. It is just you and another guy in complete darkness, packed in there like a couple of sardines, and it's a long process. So, yeah, if your rig gives out or something, you're in a lot of trouble, man.
We do our SDV missions. I can't give away a lot because it's classified, but you're sitting shoulder to shoulder with another guy in the back of the boat. And so my shoulder is touching another guy's shoulder, and then my other shoulder is wedged against the door. And then there's a guy sitting between my legs and a guy sitting between the other guy's legs. And it's like 4 guys sitting in the trunk of a car, and then they fill the trunk up with water, and you stick a regulator in your mouth for over 6 hours. So when you're at this target and you can get out, you're a really happy dude, because even non-claustrophobic people get real tired of not having 1 inch for themselves.
Yeah, easy. What's the nickname for those things?
For the SDVs?
Yeah.
I can't remember. What?
The coffin?
Coffin?
Yeah.
I just remember the Admiral saying it's the most dangerous thing we do on purpose.
Yeah.
Drive those SDVs. And I believe the guy.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's see. No, SDV guys, I'm answering a question here. The SDV guys don't just drive the subs. There's a guy that drives it and navigates it, and then the other SEALs prepared to do whatever they're going to do in the back of that thing. Lockout. You remember what the longest dive was? Who holds what the record is for SDV dive?
Well, they can be really long. It's how you manage your batteries. But when you're breathing on Mark 16, you got 10 hours there, and then you got maybe 8 hours of boat air. So I don't know. It could be a long dive.
Yeah, I think the record, from what I remember, was like 14 hours underwater or something for some of these guys.
I wouldn't get into the capabilities, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm talking the capabilities of human endurance. Anybody can stay underwater that long is just a freaking badass. I mean, that's from the time most people wake up in the morning to about the damn time a lot of people go to bed.
Well, we'd come out of the water after being in the water for, I'll say, 6 hours or more, and then you strap on your ruck and you climb up a mountain with a 50 cal, like a 35-pound rifle in your backpack, and your skin just turns into, I don't know, it's not as good as it is at an island. It gets real soft, and it's just not comfortable at all. It's a pretty hardcore command to be at, is SDVs. I mean, it's a great command. I loved it, but it's a whole different world.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. So,
SDVs, the thing about SDVs, though, if guys are like hearing bad shit about it. No one else on Earth does what you're doing. That's okay. So you got the world's most powerful military with the world's most powerful navy, with the most advanced nuclear submarine launching the most advanced SDV. Put you and another idiot somewhere to do something. So you don't dwell on it, but you realize there's a lot behind the mission you're doing, and no one else can do it. I mean, you and your team are the only ones who can do it. So there's a lot of pride.
A lot of not a good thing when they get wrecked up a bit in the unfortunate accident or bump into something. What's some of the things that have had happen or have happened, can happen on those things?
In the past, there was a lot of problems. Dudes were not effective drivers. Nowadays, I mean, in my platoon, we did, I'll say, 30 dives before we deployed, and probably 15 when we were deployed, and everything worked every time. But I mean, the amount of planning, like I said, I spent 2 hours just packing my bag. I mean, the amount of planning and prepping the boat and the dive plan and where the sub's going to be, or it's a lot of planning to make sure everything goes right. But like I said, they have it down to where it goes right way more than not. I've had guys die in the boat too, so I've seen it go wrong. But near the end, it got pretty much ironed out.
Was that the guy at Little Creek?
Dean, yeah.
Yeah.
He's in my platoon.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
That sucked.
Do we want to go into that one?
Not so much. It's kind of political. Good guy died for a bad reason. We're testing some high-end thermal, hydrothermal suits. They're like 20 grand a suit, and they obviously didn't work because he died of hypothermic cardiac arrest. So it was a little bit too cold. It was about January or February, I can't remember, but there was ice in Desert Cove there, so it was pretty fucking cold.
Yeah, and these are things that you test out. It's a lot of guys have read the Rogue Warrior thing where Marcinko was snagged up on that extraction method, and the second guy that went up was killed during it. And it's just much like that torpedo that we shot out or something like that. This suit was designed to pump hot water and to keep these guys down, and it failed. And being a SEAL, he trooped it out. And so shit happens. Things go wrong. So when you guys would deploy, typical 6 month.
Yeah, we do a 6 month deployment, and what they do is everyone's got a lot of guns. SEALs have an average SEAL probably has 5 guns, 6 guns, and the sniper might have 12 guns. So we'd put half our guns in Rota, Spain, because that was our headquarters, and then half of them were on the sub, and draggers, and parachutes, and everything. So no matter where something happened, we could jump in a Helo with whatever we're wearing, go down into the sub, get our stuff, do the mission, or launch from Rota. So yeah, that was good. We were prepared.
Did you know any of the guys that were on Red Wing from SDV team?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Most everybody did. So yeah, it was a tough one, bro. So anything else you want to cover on the SDV at all?
Well, it goes to part of the SEAL story when you get to BUD, you're going to have a reputation, and the need of the Navy is to put a bunch of guys in SDV team. They're going to, unless you're the class honor man, you're going to go to SDV team, with the will of the Navy. So if you go, make the best out of it, and you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
With a bad attitude, they'll hate you because they're proud about what they're doing. They got a national mission, and it just won't be right. Just if you do go there, just do your best, and it's a great team to be in.
Yeah. I'm going to answer a quick question here. We don't test faulty equipment. We test equipment, and sometimes it doesn't work the way it's designed, or it's a SEAL thing. I don't remember how many guns. I remember the new M60 they came out with. They lightened this thing up. The Army tested it, but they had the SEAL tested it, and I remember having one of the first ones, the 60 M60E3 or something, and hell, I put rounds through that thing for a couple of days, and it started falling apart. You know, there's just something that people do with their gear, and what SEALs do with their gear. And boy, we put a hurting on stuff. So, you know, the sights were starting to fall off, the carrying handle, just things were breaking on it because of the amount of rounds that go through. So, you know, we get a piece of gear, have a really good look at it. We're certainly not reckless with it, but it's got to be tested. And sometimes, you know, it doesn't work out right. So, unfortunately, you know, shit happens. So,
right.
Get it going on.
And like what you said, we'll buy the best gear out there. The price isn't the object. It's getting the mission done. And somebody might have made the best helmet mount for a night vision goggle ever. But we're going to snap them, break them, whatever. After they go back and forth 2 or 3 times, it will be seal proof. You know, it'll be able to come out of a sub, have sand jammed in on the beach. It'll just be able to. But when they made it, they never envisioned how beat this thing was going to get. So I can't think of anything that just, hey, look, check this thing out I made. It's perfect, and it really was. I mean, it takes a couple back and forth because of the way stuff gets abused just by the mission, not by guys abusing it.
Yeah, just doing it, and people don't know. You know, it was like talking to the Nike guys. You know, they've been sending a lot of gear down here for us to train, and the actual teams themselves, and they're going to get their money's worth, because what we'll do with it versus you know, some basketball, you know, pro basketball player. Yeah, if it's seal proof, you know, we put the seal approval, because we just beat the shit out of stuff. And I remember doing a training op. Our platoon was broken down into 3 different elements, and we needed a communicator, and we geared up a technician. We had to have a radioman go out for this thing, and we geared up a technician to go out on this op. He was not a SEAL, but you know, it was an easy day. You just do that stuff, we'll take care of you. You got to make comms. And we took him out in the op, and you know, typical SEAL thing, man. You know, we're constantly fighting to keep it together. You know, it's bad the way we come in, the things that we do. It's tough. And at the end of that thing, when we got him out of there, he looked at me and he goes, I will never, ever say anything to another SEAL that brings a broken radio back. He said, I had no idea what you guys did out there. He said, I will never bitch about any broken shit you guys ever bring back. He goes, that was fucking unbelievable. And you know, it's a wake-up call guys get. You know, it's the movies, books, documentaries does no justice to what goes on out there, and it's a fucking freak show. And, we earn our pay, that's for damn sure.
When we're in Afghanistan and Iraq, the Terps we get, there's like a Terp house with 80 or 90 Terps in there, and they'll see us coming, and there's some of them that just want to go with us. They're hardcore. They know they're going to be starving, freezing, getting shot at, and there's some that just want to go with the big army unit, you know. So there's out of 100, there's probably 10 that want to go with us or with Recon Marines or SF, because they know what the mission's going to be. And there's 90 of them that they won't come with you kicking and screaming. They just don't want to do them, and they're not even involved in the mission. They're just walking with you with a very light load, but just spending the week with you on the hill, you know, that stress just kills them. They'd rather be with a big unit. But the ones that want to work with it, it's like the gear, you know, they want to do it, and they're the ones we bring with us.
Yeah. There's some good, he's talking about interpreters over there, the foreign nationals that work with us in Iraq, Afghanistan. The interpreters, Terps. So, yeah. So, get it going on. That was great, man. I appreciate it. But I wanted to hit you up about the Oster thing, but I got to hear, these guys got to hear this shipwreck story.
Okay, so here's my story. So we used to go in Submarine Bay, there's all these shipwrecks from World War II, Japanese and American. And we'd go on the Japanese ships looking for, you weren't supposed to, of course, because they were full of bodies and bones and swords. We're always looking for swords, something cool. There wasn't much cool stuff. But if the bottom of the bay was, say, 70 feet, some of these ships, if you were way inside of them, you'd be at like 120 feet because the ship had worked its way into the silt and mud in the bottom of Subic Bay. So I'm in there with a scuba bottle, and you learn later you're supposed to have flashlights and lines to get your way out, but we were just wild men looking for cool stuff. And I'm going through these rips in this ship that were made by torpedoes or bombs, I don't know, just holes in steel where I had to pull my scuba bottles off, push them through, and then pull myself through because it was only like 12 inches wide. And I'm going into parts of this ship that no one's seen in 50 years. I'm digging it. And I get all the way in this one room, and it's the bonanza. It's all kinds of cool brass with Japanese stuff on it. And I see this big brass thing on the wall, and I go, I'm going to take that. So I try to pull it. It won't come. So I twist it about 10 times. And all the brass, all the copper wires are breaking. And I got this like 30-pound piece of brass in my hand that's holding on by one little piece of copper wire. And I take my one flashlight that I have, and I hit it to break that last wire. And when I hit it, it got dark beyond any dark I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was just dark. And this thing's in my lap now, and I fall to what was the bottom of the ship. And I'm like, oh, God, I have no idea how the hell I got in here or how I'm going to get out. So I took and I had a friend who got on the ship later. A lot of people die in shipwrecks because they're pretty awesome. So anyways, I'm sitting there with this 30-pound piece of brass in my lap, pitch black, beyond any black I can explain. And I go, well, my flashlight's not on. I'll just turn the switch to off because, So I flip it to off. I take a couple more breaths from my scuba bottle, and I go, well, now I'm going to turn my flashlight back on. It's going to come on, and I'm going to see the little crack I swam through, and I'm going to go 20 decks up, right, left, and get the hell out of this ship. And it's like I wouldn't be here. I mean, I flipped the light on, and it hit, and I saw how to get out of the ship. And when I finally got to where I could see some real light from the surface through one of the bigger holes in the ship, I was a pretty happy guy. So that was probably one of the dumber things I did and survived from.
Well, your parachute story of crashing in the field, you're certainly the dude that's been there and done that. Did you ever hear about those the Team 2 guys that dove on the dam in Fort Chaffee, Arkansas?
Oh, they got stuck in there?
Oh, my God. Now, here's your claustrophobic story. The guys were down there doing land warfare, and a fisherman drowned in the river by this dam. And so the police found out that there were SEALs down there, and went out, and they said, we've got a body down there. We've got all the dive gear. We didn't take guys didn't take their dive gear down for land warfare. And they said, we got all the dive gear. We just don't have any divers. Would you guys mind trying to recover this body? And they said, oh, shit, sure. So they jocked up a couple of team guys. The whole platoon went down there. And they showed them pictures of this dam under construction. And this dam had 3 big holes at the bottom of it. And the pictures that they showed them were these huge type of Japanese dump trucks. I mean, the biggest trucks you can imagine, side by side in each one of these 3 holes. And they said, whatever you do, do not get inside one of those things. Well, sure enough, they get inside one of those things. The 2 guys go down there, 2 guys. They somehow get disoriented and get inside one of these tunnels. And black, dark, they can't see shit. So what are they going to do? They go to the ceiling, to the top of it, and are trying to feel their way out of this thing. And they're running out of air. They've been down there for a while. And, they're starting to feel pretty nervous about this shit. And they found a hole, a tunnel in the tunnel that was leading up. And, that was it. They weren't getting out of this thing, and they said, fuck, last-ditch effort, we're going up this tunnel. And so the 2 of them proceeded to go up through the top of this flooded tunnel in the dam. And, when the guy tells the story, one of the guys that was there, it's really will work on you, but I'll do the best I can. This tunnel started getting narrower and narrower the further up it they went, to the point where they were on top of each other, and the other guy was kicking the other guy in the face with his fins as they're trying to go up the top of this thing. They can't see anything, And, when I was talking to the guy, he said, I just knew that when I got to the top of this thing, it was going to be covered by a locked grate. And we were not going to go out. And it got narrower and narrower until their bottles were clinking off of the side. They're sucking the last bit of oxygen out of their tanks. They know they're going to die. And he hits the grate at the top of this thing and shoves it open, and they climb out. And when they climb out, they are on the very top of this dam, looking down, hundreds of feet below, and it's the platoon waiting for them to come out of the water, and they're on top of this thing. So, bad shit goes on when you're diving. We've all certainly had a few close calls, and it'll get you pumping, man. Easy stuff. Diving mishaps, dude. Terrifying. It'd be terrifying underwater at times. What do you want to tell these guys about your officer days?
Well, I was Maverick, so I did 10 years enlisted and got in five platoons, and then I went to OCS and was an officer. So, and I wouldn't change it for the world if I had a time machine and you said, when I started, hey, you can go to Harvard and come in as an officer. That would have sucked. I was really glad I had the enlisted time, and I was glad I had the officer time. I don't know, it's just a whole different, like when you're a chief, when you're enlisted, you go, okay, I'm a second class, I'm a first class, I'm a chief, and it's pretty much chief, senior chief, master chief. It's pretty much the same job, and then if you make master chief, you could be a master chief for 20 years with no more progression. But so I went from chief to ensign, so now I'm an ensign, a JG, a lieutenant commander, a commander. So you get to do the whole making rank, getting new jobs, in charge of bigger and bigger things again. So it was wonderful. I mean, I would highly recommend it to anyone who could do it.
Now, when you did it, you got a lot of your college actually being at Bud's as an instructor.
Right. When I showed up, I told them I wanted to go to college because I was from Team 1. I just did 5 platoons in a row. And they go, okay. And they put me in third phase. So I'm going to be on the island a month, out at La Posta for a week. And then it was being deployed more than being in a team. So I go, I'm going back to Team 1. And they go, okay, we'll put you in dive phase till you finish your degree, because I needed 1 year with CLEP and everything. Pretty much, if you get through BUDS and all the schools you go through, you can, and CLEP everything, in a year you can get a bachelor's degree. So, because there's so much, like your EMT school counts for something, and your electrician's mate A school counts for something, and you CLEP out some math and stuff. So I finished it in 12 months. I was done.
Well, that's a good thing that you brought up, because I really hadn't thought about that in a long time. But when these guys go through BUDS training, they get college credit for it. And if they go through an A school, they get college credit for it. And if they go through EMT school, or there's just this list of credits that they had. And when I went over there and took that CLEP test, I had almost enough for an associate's degree. Just from my Navy experience. So that was about a lot of what you did, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And then I was super proactive, so I figured out, okay, have you heard about CLEP? Have you done any CLEP courses? Done?
No.
So when you CLEP, you just say, I'm going to challenge English, or I'm going to challenge math. And it's, they say, okay, you've been in the Navy, you've been a professional, whatever. Let's see, if you take this, if you can get a passing grade on a college level English test, or math test, or science test, or whatever, then we're just gonna. They won't give you your bachelor's, but they'll say you did your basics. All you got to do is finish your final stuff. So yeah, a lot of guys like me and CD and Roger Meek, well, all the ex-enlisted guys, we CLEP'd as much as we could, so we'd have to spend as little time, in school as we needed to.
Yeah. I remember doing a deployment one time on a ship, and they deploy college professors on these ships. And,
yeah,
we all took.
On a ship. I took a math class on a ship one time, and that counted towards my college.
Yeah, I took a history course on there, counted toward mine, but hit that one more time, just a little bit about what a lot of guys are doing the college thing or don't think they'll get it, but they're pushing college on the teams now more than anything, almost to promotion wise, of having your associate's degree by the time you make chief, your bachelor's degree for senior chief, and master's at master chief, or crazy stuff. But can you hit a little bit more about that CLEP and how you did it? Now, you got your bachelor's degree. I think you got your master's now, don't you?
I got my master's too, and here's this is why I love the Navy. So I was a good SEAL. I did my platoon. SEALs don't like people who just go to school and they're not SEALs. So I knocked out 5 platoons. I went to BUD/S, which is your break. It's your time to have babies and see your wife, whatever, even though she divorced me. But but I used that year to I did the CLEP, which you got to look it up, CLEP. I don't know what it stands for, but a lot of schools will take CLEP classes in lieu of your minor classes, so that you can be fast tracked to a degree. And I'm saying like UCSD, and good schools will do that. Stanford, but that ain't where we go. But there's a lot of SEALs in UCSD. There's SEALs in Stanford too, actually, getting their degrees, through the Seaman to Admiral and some of the other programs. But the CLEP is just a way that if you're a guy like me who just wants to do the minimum time at BUD/S, and then get back into the teams, and you just knock out a degree. And there was no guarantee when I got my degree that there was going to be an officer slot open for me. I got my degree, and I asked, hey, is there an officer slot? And they go, yeah, and I got one. Some guys have to wait a year or two. I was just lucky. And then 10 years later, I go back to BUD/S as a lieutenant commander. And BUD/S is a kickback place, and you're used to going 100 miles an hour working 7 days a week. So doing night school wasn't hard if you're used to working that hard. So then I got my MBA while I was doing that, which I don't use it, but it helps. It's helped me, and it's all been paid for by the military. So they paid every penny for my bachelor's, and they paid every penny for my master's. So, and I'm one of thousands they did that for. So anyone who gets out, I'm like, dude, getting out to go to school. I go, what the hell are you doing? I mean, they're giving me a paycheck, they're promoting me, and then they're paying for my school. I mean, why would you want to get out and do that? So.
Yeah, not only good deals for good SEALs, but the entire military, just the regular Navy itself, Marine Corps, Army. They're big on, rewarding dudes and getting those degrees. They push that education on guys. Awesome, man.
I'm in a position now where I'm hiring people, and of course I hire SEAL first, but you get a guy who took no initiative in furthering himself, if he's an Army guy or a Marine, that obviously says something about him. I mean, yeah, you're the greatest tank driver in the Marines, whatever, but if you're a guy who went out on the weekends and went to night school and got your degree in whatever, it's just a different level of guy. And the business world looks at it like, okay, your first job is a SEAL, put 100% into that, but when you get your short duty, are you just going to sit around and drink beer, or are you going to try to do something there too? So.
Yep, we got one guy up here's talking. This would be a better thing for if you got a few more minutes, Bill, to go into some of the college stuff. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I know I've had you on here a bit, but
no worries.
A couple of the different programs. The guy's talking about the college degrees and what you would do if you did not make it through BUD/S with a college-educated enlisted guy. Anything on that?
I think it's how you're. So a college-educated enlisted guy. Here's the catch-22. You could probably get into the Navy and be a SWO and be on the most badass Arleigh Burke or be a pilot or whatever. They have there's rooms for officers there where it's SEAL team. It's so competitive. There's so few billets, and so and the rules always change. But if you make your bed and you say, screw the commission, I want to be a SEAL, and then you don't make it through BUD/S, well, then you're not going to have your commission, and you're not going to be a SEAL. I mean, I don't know what to tell somebody who's in that predicament. The best case scenario is you get one of those OCS billets, or the guys who got it all set up are the guys who go to ROTC or the academy, because they're shoo-ins to get bud slots, and they're going to graduate at a great rate because they're so motivated, and they've been trained to be a SEAL for 4 years while they were in college. So anyone else, it's a crapshoot. You know, you just gotta take your medicine if you don't make it.
Yeah, and SWO for you guys is Surface Warfare Officer. You know, the guys that drive the ships, commanding officers of ships, admirals in the regular Navy. You know, ship guys are Surface Warfare Officers, and SEAL officers are Special Warfare Officers. So, you know, guys that take that chance, it's a huge gamble for these guys to join the Navy, to go to BUDS. And knowing their chances of making it are not good. You know, I was just talking to a pre-BUDS guy. He's up at Great Lakes going through pre-BUDS, Bill. And he says there's 350 of those guys competing to get in the next BUDS class. And so now what they've done is ramped up this crazy PRT test for them. And only the best one of those guys is going to go to BUDS. And then if they don't, they get rolled back. And if they don't do it a second time, it sucks to be them.
Well, but I look at it from, not from the kid on the street. I look at it from the what I put my heart into for 27 years, the community. And what it sounds like they're doing, for Stevie, who's the CO, you know, one of my best friends, he's the CO of BUD. And you're just making his job easier, because the dudes that show up are going to be pipe swingers. It's like our officers graduated at a 90% rate, and our enlisted graduated at a 30 or less percent rate, because there was no competition for enlisted SEALs. And by making that competitive, you're going to make that attrition level less and less and less, to where, you know, you're going to get the numbers out the door, but they're going to meet all the requirements. And that's all anyone wants. If 100% of the class met every requirement, run, swim, O-course, tests, shooting, you know, they'd be happy as hell. It'll never happen. But they would be happy because, you know, they met all the requirements. That's all it is.
Yeah. And but they, you know, the guys that don't, you know, it's a huge gamble for these guys to, you know, leave everything behind and join the Navy, go through boot camp, all that testing, go to BUDS, and if they don't make it, you know, I can tell you there's worse things than spending a couple of years on a ship and getting your shit back together again, and, you know, go see the Orient, go hang out over in the Philippines and Thailand. You know, I love the regular Navy. I just love I ain't got a bad thing to say about any branch of the military or anything in it. You know, you're getting a paycheck for it, and, you know, you're proud of yourselves, and, you know, you gave it your best shot, and get your shit together again and go try it again or something. But too many guys think, you know, it's chipping the paint and I'm a bitch and, you know, I'm just going to fucking hate every minute of it. And that's not the case, you know. It's not a day of...
I'll tell you what. I did a real-world op and out in the Persian Gulf, and they put me on the USS Shiloh, some kind of guided missile cruiser or guided missile destroyer. And I never really even thought about that world, but I'll tell you what, it was badass. Every part of that ship, the chow hall, the comms, the crypto, it was like Star Trek. I mean, I've been on gator freighters, you know, and carriers as a frog, and those aren't so cool. But I got on that cruiser. I'm not selling surface warfare, but it was very, very, very awesome. And their mission, what we were doing, they were critical to our mission to get this bad guy. And it was like a Ferrari on the water, you know, with rockets and stuff, basically. I mean, there's nothing in the world like the Shiloh. Yeah. And, you know, we have 20 of them, but no one else has anything like it.
Oh, we got one guy on here tonight. He saw a few of my pictures on my Facebook or something, and recognized his ship. And me and him, Jerry and Willie, the whole bunch were on the Guadalcanal together in the Persian Gulf. And it's crazy what you said about the Star Trek stuff, because we brought a bunch of Iranian prisoners on board that ship. Now, Iran their Navy is about as tough as most marinas, and the only reason the only thing they don't do in their Navy is sell bait. But when we brought them on board the Guadalcanal, it was a helicopter carrier in the Persian Gulf. Them motherfuckers thought they were on the Battlestar Galactica. They shit. It was like, how in the hell does something this big float? The ones that were still conscious anyhow, But, it's right. We got a powerful Navy, man. It's cool being on ships. We had a good time. So, getting it done, man. Getting it done. Easy day out there, bro.
Just a couple places where they help. It's classified what they do to help, the SEAL mission. But just the Somalia thing, that was surface warfare dudes. That was Navy sailors in their ribs, helping our SDV mission. Or when we take down a bad guy in Afghanistan, he doesn't stay there. Like, if he's a really bad guy, he wouldn't stay there more than half an hour before we'd have him heading out to a ship, because we didn't want the shit of 5,000 idiots protesting at the gate. Hey, he ain't here anymore. Okay, he's gone, and you need those ships out there to do that shit for you.
That's right. Give them and the guys on board the ships, feed them ham sandwiches, and they know that pisses them off. Hey, dude, I appreciate the hell out of it, man. Good bunch of guys tonight. A lot of confusion about SDVs and the Oster stuff. Really bringing up that CLEP stuff. You're just a gold mine every time you get on here. But I'd forgot all about that CLEP stuff. And guys, again, when they get through BUDS training, they get college credit for that. When they go through even assault boat coxswain school in the Navy, what other kinds of things do guys get college credit for?
I got it for electricians made A school, instructor school. I got 20 schools that, EMT school, that they just throw college credits at you for.
Yeah, there's a book of them out there. I remember doing that now. It's been a number of years ago, but went over and just went down the list, and I had damn near the 60 credits to get my bachelor's degree, right from just my 20-some years in the Navy. I was like, holy shit, And then you talk about clepping out, the guys that will challenge a history, an English, a math, college level test. They'll challenge it, take the test, and if they pass that thing, they get the credit for it. They're not even going to school. So, very cool stuff, man. Very cool.
All right, amigo.
Take care, everybody out there. It's Diane's birthday tomorrow, so give us a yell. Dave's coming down. We're all going to hang out for a bit, and we'll get it done, man.
Bruce's coming down?
Yeah, we're going to have a big Team 1 reunion here on tomorrow and Friday. So.
And Snoop's still there?
Oh, yeah. He's out there with Diane, and he's camera shy, so wish me luck here this weekend.
Good luck, my friend.
Hey, bro.
All right, brother. Take care.
I appreciate it, dude. Always good, always good. Thanks, bro.
All right, out.
Bye. Bill, the BUDS instructor, clarifying all that stuff up.